We're going to look at tree buds today, and we'll start with my favorite tree bud, which is American Beech. They're slender, long, up to an inch long sometimes, shiny, brown, and they are angle away from the stem. And in tree bud language, that means they're divergent. They diverge away from the stem strongly in American Beech. Real pointed, and these, of course, next spring will expand greatly to produce the new leaves. People think that, at least a lot of people think that the buds form in spring. They've been there since summer. They formed the previous growing season, and then they're dormant until the next spring. But I've always thought that American Beech has the most beautiful buds. You can also see on American Beech that they hold a lot of their dried, withered leaves over winter. Not all trees do that. Oaks, beech, ironwoods do that sometimes. Some maples, sugar maples. But beech are the classic one. This is a condition called marcescence. But today we're looking at these beautiful, gorgeous, shiny, slender, pointed brown buds on American Beech. This is white ash, which is right next to the beech we just looked at. I should have mentioned that the buds on beech and most trees around here are alternate on the stem. On ashes and on maples, they are opposite. So the buds are across from each other on the stem, and that's where the new twig will come out in the new leaves. So ash are opposite. White ash and trees that are opposite usually have what's called a terminal bud, which is larger than the side buds, which are called axillary buds. So white ash has these large, dark brown terminal buds. If you look really closely, you see they're slightly downy, but this rich chocolate brown opposite. And the other thing that you'll notice when you look at tree buds is right below the bud, there is a lighter brown scar or a thing called a bud scale. And actually that's where the leaf fell off in spring, and the bud has formed in that axil between the twig and the old leaf. And the bud scale scar on white ash is kind of half moon shaped. You see it really well right here in this one. So sometimes when you're looking to identify trees, deciduous trees in the winter, that bud scale scar can help because the other ash trees have a different shape on their bud scale scar, not this half moon shape on white ash. But opposite, dark brown, large terminal bud, half moon shaped bud scale scar on white ash. Well, here we have Ironwood, or American hop hornbeam, one of my favorite trees, as a lot of people know. And like American Beech, it has alternate buds, and like American Beech, they are divergent from the twig. They angle away from the twig. They're not close up like on some other trees. And if you look closely at American Beech, Ironwood, many tree and shrub buds, you'll see they have they're covered with a series of scales, like shingles on a roof, covering that growing point inside, protecting it from drying out. And when you have that, all those scales are like shingles on a roof again, that condition is called imbricate on buds. And some buds only have two scales that don't overlap, and that's called, like basswood, and that's called valvate. But American Beech and Ironwood, sugar maple, have what are called imbricate buds. And like I mentioned before, when there aren't any leaves on the tree, and that's what most people depend on to identify trees, the buds, the bud scale scars, can be very helpful in identifying trees in winter. So this is Ironwood or American hawthorn beech. Here we have sugar maple, and it's another one that has opposite buds. So up in this neck of the woods, the trees that are opposite are maples and the ashes. Everything else is alternate. So opposite buds, and like all trees that have opposite buds, they have a large terminal bud. And on sugar maple, it's very pointy. You can identify this in pitch dark just by feeling the edge of the end of the twig. And you can also see on sugar maple that the axillary buds, these side buds, are tight up against the twig. They're not divergent like on beech and ironwood, but they're tight up, and that's called oppressed in the world of buds. Kind of a dark grayish, almost black sometimes. Again, pointy, opposite, sugar maple. This is basswood, which is also called American linden, and it has these beautiful reddish buds, plump, large, kind of teardrop shaped, alternate like ironwood and beech, slightly divergent from the twig, but this beautiful red color. If you look closely, you'd see that they don't have all those overlapping bud scales like on sugar maple and beech and ironwood. Just have two scales, and that's called valvate in bud terminology. So not imbricate like a shingle on a roof, but just two non-overlapping scales. But this gorgeous red bud over the winter on basswood or American linden.